Duel Review is brought to you by NexusDigitalComics.com. On today's Duel Review, it's Dead Space 3. I'm RJ.
And I'm Nick.
Let's get to it.
Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday the 12th of February. We are doing Dead Space 3.
That's right. Visceral Games and EA just came out. If you haven't played it yet, maybe you're just waiting for some reason. Maybe you can't afford it yet. I don't know. But we're going to give you our 2 cents. We played it from start to finish, and it is a very good game. Let's just say that. It's a very enjoyable game, very high production values, lots of great stuff. Let's just say that there's some good and there's some bad with the new stuff that's added. One thing that's added is the whole gunsmithing thing.
Yes.
And we had a lot of fun doing that.
I did too,
yeah, there's just tons. There's different handles and different bases, and you kind of build the thing out. And so you can have the classic, plasma and the ripper, what is it called? The cutter.
Yeah, you have the plasma cutter, and then you have the rip blade.
Whatever
blades.
it is, and then whatever. You have a plethora of choices, energy bolos and all just sorts of stuff. So you have lots of classic stuff, and you have a lot of new stuff. It feels kind of like a Resistance-y, because most guns you can build to have a second function, you know. So that is really awesome. You accumulate parts throughout your journey, and you find a bunch of tungsten. You can even have like these little worker robots, which you love.
I love the little robots.
And you can send them out in certain areas, and they will like search for materials while you're off doing your thing, and that's brilliant. So you don't have to find everything yourself. The bot will do it yourself.
I didn't notice it before, but when you go to a bench after they've collected, they'll sit there like right outside waiting for you to like approach the bench.
Yeah, and then they'll come into the bench. That's pretty cool.
So cool.
So it's just a little fun little extra production value.
Yes.
That is a lot of fun, but there is a negative side. The 1 and 2 Dead Space I loved. I just adored them, and I think most people did.
Yes, absolutely.
But it changes the formula just a bit. In Dead Space 1 and 2, you're not a soldier per se. You are, a mechanic. You're an engineer. You've got tools that are meant to cut stone and to repair, weld things, and it's just there's all these unconventional weapons of death
like
that
the rivet gun
you can use. Yeah, and it's super cool. It's super cool that way. And each gun has a very specific intention, like intended use. But it works great in decapitating baddies or whatever. The cool thing also is that you have different ammo that you come across, and you are you have to manage that. It's like, oh, well, I love the plasma cutter, but I have no plasma cutter, ammo, so I'm going to have to use a slower gun or one that maybe I'm not trained on. So I need to, be balanced and good with everything and know how it works. This one is tailored to whatever guns you make. And yes, you can make any guns you want, but they actually have like submachine guns and shotguns. And in fact, that's a majority of what works in this game. Like the
military weapons as opposed to the tools.
And I'm going to argue that that's kind of lame, because it takes away that kind of fun. And it also makes it way too easy. Like you will need to use it sometimes, like the shotgun. Like it's like you're using the energy bolos or you're using the plasma cutter, and it's just not quite cutting it. So you use the shotgun, your secondary weapon, and they just So it makes it easy in effect, and plus all the ammo is universal ammo. It works for anything. So you're only looking for one type of ammo, which, again, I think it's necessary in what they did.
Because you can create your own weapons.
Yeah, people are going to create their own weapons, and so you're not going to want to have to manage the ammo that much that way. But it doesn't have that incentive of learning all the weapons and balancing that and all that stuff. And of course, in Dead Space 1 and 2, you can, change your weapon. This one allows you, only allows you to have 2. As far as we know, maybe New Game Plus gives you that third, because you select it with the D-pad, so you go left or right, and then above is your little robot.
Yeah,
they haven't done down, so maybe that's New Game Plus, or maybe they just don't do it.
Or maybe we missed something.
So you're very limited to that. And okay, yes, they do have co-op as well, and the co-op is such that you play online. So he will be Carver, I will be Isaac, and we'll work together. This is cool because we both get different weapons. So we can kind of balance it out that way and work as a team. But it definitely does take down, a lot of people were worried that it would take down the, sense of alarm and dread and being alone and all that stuff. And it definitely does do that.
But I also argue that the game as a whole takes away that, because from playing it, there are moments where it definitely feels like Dead Space, and you're like, yes, this is the game I was waiting for. But other parts, you know, you're out in the open, you're talking to people left and right. In the first one, you didn't talk to anyone.
Yeah, and
you didn't even have a voice.
You're fighting humans now for, you know, a good portion of it. And, you know, they make this cover system that's not a cover system at all. It's even worse than like the first Gears of War kind of thing. It just doesn't work. You can't stick to anything. You just slightly, you know, become a little bit less of a target. And they're really bad shots. They really are. But, you know, you'll get guys with rocket launchers that'll just obliterate you if you're not careful. So, yeah, you're fighting humans. And while, you know, we have Mass Effect and we have all these other games that do that really well, it reminds me of Halo a lot, too. That's not what Dead Space is, and that's not what I was expecting. And it kind of tries to do double duty. It tries to do that suspense. Oh my gosh, they're coming at me. I got to get this, and I'm coming down to ammo. But you never feel, except for the very end, we never ran out of ammo.
Right.
And we never had to buy ammo, anything like that. We just found enough of it. We did play on normal, so we didn't play, you know, extra hard or anything. I kind of wish we'd played hard, but I don't think we would have finished it in time to review it, you know, easily.
Yeah, because
we're reviewing this a little bit ahead of time. So, yeah, it's good and bad. The story is also kind of throwaway, especially the end. We were saying, like, there's like about 20 levels, and from level 15 on, it just becomes very divisive and just kind of, I don't know, it just tries to do too much. It's got all these MacGuffins that it's just trying to pull off. And the stupid climbing the cliff thing, like, the first couple times it showed up, I'm like, I don't understand why people have a problem with this. Now I understand.
Yeah.
It is laborious.
They overuse
stupid.
it.
Yeah, and it's just one of those things that's like, clearly you are not going to be hit by the boulder, and yet it still knocks you off for some reason. So you have to follow its little rules, and it slows the pace down to a crawl. The story itself, I was getting to, is horrible for the most part. It's nothing new, and it's kind of just contrived and dribbly and doesn't really make sense. Plus, there's this stupid
love triangle, and I hate that love triangle. I really don't think it belongs in there.
Yeah, I mean, you know, at the end of 2, you could kind of, you know, you could make that leap with Isaac and what's her name. You could make that leap. But yeah, it's very childish the way that it comes forth. They're just like, you stay away from my girl. Like, no, I'm not doing anything. Shut up. You step off, bro. You know, it's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. I mean, these are now trained, you know, military people. Even Isaac now is now a military guy. And to have a conversation that way is just ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
And it does diminish the sense of urgency as well. The first 15 levels, I would say 10 or 12 levels, are very classic Dead Space. I loved them. I mean, it was great. You go through, you know, tight corridors and all that junk. I mean, there is every once in a while you go on the surface where there's icy surface, but it was fun enough. It was novel enough at first. So that is classic Dead Space. You never know what you're going to get around the corner. You get those guys that heal, so you just got to kind of run away. You've got, you know, that you're waiting for things. There's never a period of loading, really. It's just, you know, you're just waiting for a door to open, which I think is great. I mean, we complain about it. It's like, come on, door. Yeah. But really, we'd rather have that than like a cutscene and like loading and then have like some text and some picture. You know
although I would kind of want it to be a little more instant, because let's say that you're running from a horde of enemies.
Well, yeah, but that's also, you have to manage that.
Yeah, I know.
And so, also I will have to say that there was never a point, you know, never a level where I was just so like, oh, this is so fun, but I can't quite get it. Like, I'm just screwed here. I don't have enough ammo, and I don't have enough health, but I got to do it somehow, and I figure it out, and it's so gratifying, and it's, like, tense and scary. And this one is just kind of like, come on, that's so cheap. Let's just get through it. So even though we are saying it's a AAA game, it's a great game, you won't be sorry if you go buy it, I think we're both saying that it's not quite in the same vein as 1 and 2. It
would be a great game if it wasn't called Dead Space 3.
Yeah. Well, I do think that it does try to do that double duty where it's like
Dead Space in there.
First-person shooter and, you know, the horror thing, and I just think they should
survival horror,
they should have picked one. This is what happens when you try to divide too much. And I don't know. I mean, I definitely think I applaud them for trying, and I think that it is possible. But I think they made the product weaker. I just want to go back and play 1 and 2.
Yes.
And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's a good thing that I want to keep playing them, but it's because I played the newest one that I want to go back to the originals. That's kind of bad.
Yeah.
But again, it is a great... I wish that Isaac would have kept his mask on and we didn't know much. He talks way too much, and he's kind of a whiny...
Yeah, I was kind of upset with number 2 when they started showing him more and giving him a voice. They really should have kept him as the quiet character. I think that added to the suspense.
Absolutely.
But now it's just... I
think you also plunk yourself in. It's more immersive that way.
Yeah.
And the whole thing was built immersive. You know, we've got that beautiful HUD that just works in the health to the back of his thing, and the ammo's right there on the gun when you fire, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you do have that
very
awesome,
minimalistic,
awesome thing where you can like see where you're supposed to go.
I love that.
More games should do that. Yeah. I am annoyed that you have to stop and do it, so you can't do it while you're running or like on the fly. But that's just one of the mechanics you figure out. Yeah. So, again, the world, the science fiction behind it is okay. It's kind of that, religious zealot thing.
Which they've been doing since one, but...
And kind of Resident Evil-ish, where they're trying to resurrect and make soldiers, and I don't know. It's kind of just ambiguous, and it's too bad that it kind of dominated the last, third of the game. It just became one... large set piece, divisive thing after another, and it was hard to get a respite. I was just like, come on, I just want to get through this stupid end part so I can go back and play New Game Plus the first half of the game and enjoy it.
Right.
But
one of the things that I wanted to say is when Dead Space 3, before it came out, we were getting all this hype, we were getting all this information, and they made a big deal out of, the whole snow area, where your characters are slowly dying of frost. You can freeze to death.
It's essentially outdoors where you're running out of oxygen. It's the same thing.
Yeah, it's essentially it. And it's so few,
You're just trying to stay warm.
So it's so few that it doesn't really matter. It seems...
But it is fun. I mean, it reminds us of Lost Planet, which was kind of a non-successful game, but...
Well, the first one was pretty... It had a cult following. Yeah.
But anyway, don't let us undersell this, because it's
awesome.
A great game. We get those raptor things that come back, and those are awesome every time they shriek, and the sound effects, the cues are still there.
Yes.
You'll still be like, oh shit, it's those guys, or whatever. The guys that regenerate are always fun. Well, it's always like, damn it, I hate these guys, but they're fun.
Yeah.
And then we have some new guys. We have a new alien race kind of thing, which is... They're tough as nails, and at first I didn't think I could kill them because there's no glowy bits. They didn't cue you,
Yeah.
So I wasn't sure, but no, you can take care of them. And there are, again, it's in the last third. There are these stupid, like, to open the door, you got to align the different sounds of the aliens that make a word that opens the door, whatever. And it's just kind of, it's far too simple because all you have to do is. At first I was like, what do I do? All I have to do is wait.
Oh yeah,
and it'll actually make a sound, and you just follow it.
That reminds me of something else. Right at the end, or near the end, when it's tense and you're like, this is it, this is the last levels, you're kind of rushing through, they'll stop you to play these little mini games, like just to break it up for some reason, like, okay, we're pushing the envelope here, things are really starting to happen, now do this little puzzle before you can continue. And it's like, come on.
They just tried so many different things, and again, it's worth applauding,
yes.
And some of them worked great. In fact, there was this one game where you move these nodes, but you have to do left and right. And I think it's basically built for maybe the co-op. Maybe the co-op when we come together, we could do it because there are two terminals.
Yeah,
But anyway, you're supposed to move left and right independently, and it's one of those things that makes you realize that you're fighting your brain to do that at the same time. So you end up either doing like one and then one, like moving them in succession. Or, like, I tried to do it together and, get it wrong. It's weird to, whatever. It's just a fun little experiment that makes me, fight my own brain and I have that weird feeling. So that's fun, And then they have the thing where, you're hijacking the terminal by lining up the blue cone or whatever. That's back. So they have all these things. It's just that they have so many of them now.
Yeah.
So I guess variety is the spice of life. But, yes, it does definitely slow down the pace of the game. But it can't all be manic. I mean, that's part of the fun is to be... But I never had that moment where I was like, 2 had lots of those moments.
Yeah.
This one was like, oh yeah, it's going to be those things. So I don't know how much it was that I was expecting it or that they just dropped the ball.
The first one was actually very slow in my opinion, because it was a survival horror, so you had to take it slow. In fact, you started yelling because we were playing one player. We were just passing it off to get through the entire story. So you were yelling at me because I tend to be, especially in survival horrors, I tend to be slow and just kind of be very careful.
You're slow in everything.
I am, okay.
That's just your thing.
Yeah. So I was being very slow, and in the first one, that slow added to the tension. In this one, the slow bits are the little mini games that kind of are superfluous at some points.
Yeah, I would argue that the first one it's necessary because you can't miss ammo, you can't miss health, or you're going to be up shit creek. But this one, it just comes up again until the very end.
Past stuff.
The end was when we had to buy some ammo to get through it and that sort of thing. But otherwise, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
So yes, very good game. It's just not quite what I wanted Dead Space 3 to be, and I don't think I'm the only one. It sounds like most people have that same sort of thing, that it kind of, instead of dividing and conquered, it divided and died, because it's just not quite good enough as a first-person shooter, kind of that thing, and then not quite good enough as survival horror. they kind of just, it's, I don't know.
Well, yeah. Again, it is a great game, but it's not, in my opinion, it's not a Dead Space 3 worthy game. Well, I mean, I guess it is kind of a Dead Space.
It is an awesome game.
It is an awesome game.
Our job is to point out the things that, you know, could suffer to be better.
Right.
So it is a great game, and you will totally enjoy it. I do love also, like, the suits.
Yes.
You can change the suits, and I have kind of a love-hate thing with that, though, because I love being able to change your appearance, and then independently you can build up your strength.
Yeah,
so
the rig. Yeah.
It's like you don't have to have the goofy gold one if you want to be strong in, you know, armor or something like that. You don't have to do that. But at the same time, it kind of, you know, lessens the specialness of it, where any suit that you have could have everything. Same with the guns.
Yes.
It's like one gun that you have, just about. I mean, it limits it with the handle.
Right.
You know, one is like heavy and one is light, but you can have anything, any combination in that one gun. So there's really no, I'd really like to have that, but I guess, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just like, oh yeah, of course I'd want this.
Having to choose favorites, because then you could just combine your favorites.
Yeah, so that was kind of fun. You know, as much as we complained about it, that was fun because it forced you to act smart, or, you know. Anyway, I will definitely be playing it again on New Game Plus. I mean, it is very fun.
Yes.
And sound effects are great. It's just, voice acting, and then just, I just wish it was all survival horror. I really do. I think, you know, it's weird to stomp on people, too.
Yeah.
Like these juicy explosions from people. It's like, when did Isaac become a ruthless murderer of humans? You know what I mean? It's crazy.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That was something real quick. I like that you can go into an area before in 1 and 2. You could stomp on bodies so that they wouldn't turn into necromorphs because you've obliterated them.
Right.
In this one, it doesn't give you the option. There's still most of the body left so that it can change. So
yeah, and there's not a whole lot of human bodies either.
Yeah.
And then I will say also that they use the kinetic stuff a lot.
Yes.
Like they use it a lot more. Like generators you have to turn on, and pieces that you have to rotate to, you know, puzzles. Then they use kind of the same tropes, like line up the symbols a little bit too often.
Yeah.
They should just go back to the core. They really should, because there's nothing broken about it.
Nope.
There's nothing broken, and I do hope that some of the new things stay. Like, I guess, you know, it could be argued, maybe you have one gun that you can make, or maybe, like, during a certain part of the game, then you can unlock these parts and make them. I don't know. But, like, almost from the beginning, you can make whatever gun you wanted. So, anyway, all right, guys, thanks for watching. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow our great playlists. Game Lab's been a lot of fun.
Yes, it has. And please leave comments. We love comments. And you can help support us by buying our wares at spiderwolf.com.
That's right. T-shirts, a card game, art prints, short stories, and more. See you tomorrow. Oh!
Yes. You didn't shoot that first one.
That's such crap.
I shot just under.
It wasn't even in there.
Oh, you didn't load your gun. Oh.
Up next, People versus George Lucas. Oof. These pants have these buttons that are like an inch. You know, they're like metal buttons. You get hung up on freaking everything. It's ridiculous. Oh goodness, it's huge!
The audio set up for this?
Yep.
Man, I'm still belching up yakisoba.
Yakisoba. Could be belching up a lot worse. We know from experience. Damn you, Isaac. And your mediocrity. Should have kept your mouth shut and your helmet on.
Hey guys, welcome to Tuesday the 12th of February. I don't know why. Dead Space, I went to December.
Let's just get it out of the way. It's a very good game. It's a very enjoyable game. We played it from beginning to start. Let's do this over again. Just real quick. Very Deadpool-y stuff, and then a lot of new stuff. Now,
Dead Spacey stuff.
Is that Deadpool-y stuff?
Yeah, Dead Spacey stuff.
Freudian slip, I just looked it. It's hard to talk about a game like that, because you don't want to rip it a new one, because it is a great game, but they made some choices that just didn't add to it. It took away. It's sad. Still a great game.